is the gentle parenting response to I don't want to, right? My name's Jodie Thornton, and today we're going to talk about the gentle parenting approach that actually gets your child to listen when you've asked them to do something and they just say, but I don't want to. So the reason that we're far more likely to have children say that I don't want to when we gentle parent is because they have been really clearly communicated that what they want is actually important to us. Whether they want to do something is important to us, that they have bodily autonomy, that their needs are valid and important. We've given them all of these messages. So when we turn around and ask them to do something they don't want to do, from their perspective, it just makes sense that they should just let you know that they don't want to, right? And that we would listen to that. And that's where it can become really frustrating if you've followed all of the gentle parenting instructions, right? You've gotten down on their level, you've waited until you have their full attention, you have asked in a really kind way, you've done all of the things that gentle parenting suggests will work, and then they say, but I don't want to. And one of the things that we'll often hear people say is that then you just model the behavior you want to see, and then eventually they'll pick it up. Now, I'm not sure if that's really true. I mean, think about it's something as simple as tidying up your house. Everybody has different perceptions of like what is tidy or what is acceptable, and I'm not sure that it's actually that effective that we just pick up what our parents do. And part of that reason because in most cases we have two parents. There's usually two different perceptions on what a tidy house should be, right? So which one does your child pick? The one that's modeled more consistently, or the one that they're like, oh, it'd be so much less work if I just did it the other parent's way, right? So I just don't think that modeling is necessarily an effective way of getting through this. I also think it's really slow if it does work. You're just waiting until they decide that they actually want to do it in the way that you think that they should, right? When what we really have available to us is a problem-solving approach. If we want to do that, there's three keys to shifting from but I don't want to into listening for the right reasons. So the very first one is that in a lot of gentle parents' minds, when they're explaining why a child should do something, they bring with it a message that basically says, this is why you should want to do it. So they bring with them like don't you see, wouldn't it be much nicer if the lounge room was tidied up? Or what if your toys get broken if somebody steps on them? Or won't you feel better if your teeth are cleaned, right? We're looking for these reasons that they will want to do it. And it's only useful to bring in reasons that they want to do the task if that is truly their desire and that it's truly their desire in that moment. So if you're reminding your child of their own priorities, of their own values, of their own goals, then that is a really effective strategy to remind them that this is why they wanted to do it. They've already expressed to you that they want to do this thing, and you're just reminding them that this is what they've already committed to of their own volition, not committed to under duress, then that can be an effective strategy. But what we don't want to do is give them reasons why they should want it, right? We just reminding them of why it's in their interests from their perspective. That's our number one key. And number two key is actually to express why we want them to do it, and I mean the real reason. So if you want your child to bring their bike in from the front yard, why is that? And often when I ask a parent, like I'll be working with somebody on getting their child to listen, and I'll ask them, why do you need them to bring their bike in from the front yard? And they'll say, well, because they need to be responsible for their things. And I'm like, that doesn't actually seem like the real reason. Are you sure that's why you want them to do it right now? And it's like, well, no, if they don't bring it in, then someone might drive over it, or it'll get stolen and it was quite expensive, or like they'll give me a different reason. And I think often our first level answers to that, why do you want them to do the thing? Our first level answer is often something that's cultural, not actually what we believe. It's something that like they should be responsible for their things. That's a very cultural response. It's not necessarily what we mean in that one moment. And it's often something that's very conceptual and broad and doesn't relate to this specific moment we're having right here. And so for kids, they are not yet bought into culture, and they are definitely not yet bought into any kind of broad conceptual topics. They're more living in the moment, and we don't actually want to change that. We don't want them to let go of their own discernment of what they want to do and need to do and how they want to get things done. We don't want them to take that away and replace it with culture. That's where we get people who need approval of others. That's where we get kids who are more susceptible to peer pressure. That's where we get kids who grow up defining themselves based on who's around them rather than getting to know themselves and making decisions that are right for them. And so instead of that, we need to get to what is the specific reason that in this moment you need them to listen about this thing, right? Once you've clarified what that is and express it to them clearly, this one, they don't have to agree. So for example, I'm quite a messy person, so this doesn't relate to me, but if I was a tidy person, I might say, I cannot relax unless the lounge room is tidy. So I need you to clean up your things. If you need to make a mess and leave it as a mess, you can do that in your bedroom, but I cannot relax until the lounge room is tidy. And so if you're going to use things in the lounge room, you're going to need to clean up after yourself. Now, obviously I use a lot of words. You don't need to use that many words, but can you see how I'm not asking them to agree that it's stressful that the lounge room is untidy. It actually doesn't matter if they agree. What I need matters, right? And it's okay for me to express that this is important to me and this is my real reason. I'm not asking them to agree. I'm just asking them to understand. And then we get to the final key, which is actually understanding why they don't want to do it. And so when you say, like, I need the lounge room tidied up because I can't relax until it's tidy, can you tidy up now? And they say, but I don't want to. It's just, why don't you want to? And here, when we ask this question, the tone does not need to be warm and loving or, perfectly Mary Poppins, but it can't be a statement dressed up as a question. It can't be, well, why don't you want to, right? You can hear in my tone that whatever you say, I don't think is valid. I'm basically either saying you're being ridiculous, or I'm saying, like, you need to change your mind. This is an incorrect position to hold. The tone can be cheeky, it can be calm, it can even be quite agitated. Like, you can say, well, this is really frustrating to me and I really want to understand, why is it that you don't want to clean up? You can see how that's pretty agitated. Like, it's not an easy, relaxed tone, and some kids won't be able to relax when you speak in that tone. But you can see how I clearly express that I do want to understand why they don't want to clean up. And that's where we get into the actual problem solving, right? Because now what I need has been expressed. I need the lounge room tidied up because I need to relax. We need to know what is their need, and then how do we find a solution that works for both of us, right? That's the key. And this is the part that a lot of the gentle parenting books and resources don't go into. It's just like, just express yourself well, be consistent, do all of these things. But I speak to so many people who are following all of the gentle parenting advice, and the child just goes, but I don't want to. And then it's like, well, just model graciousness and then, they'll pick it up eventually. Well, maybe they will, maybe they won't. But also, why are we giving up this opportunity to actually problem solve together? To shift the dynamic so that when we have a problem, we figure out a way that works for both of us, right? That's where we want to get to. So what you want to see over time is that instead of, but I don't want to, you want them to be more specific. I don't want to tidy up because I didn't make this mess and I'm always the one who has to clean up. Or I don't want to tidy up because I actually don't care if it's messy. Right? And then we would go to understand that you don't care that it's messy, but I can't relax while the lounge room is messy. right? So how can we get through this? And then we're looking for, it could be we change how the task is. So it might be that we break it into smaller chunks. It might be that we make it fun. It might be like there's so many ways that we can change the way we get something done. And often in the tidying up example, usually we're going to need to do something like make it fun or break it into smaller chunks or something that's like changing the way we do the action. But in other examples, there's so many times where we can actually find a solution that works for both of us. And it doesn't need to be hard. And we spend all of this time perfecting our gentle parenting approach. And we spend all of this time just being patient. And the number of posts that ask in gentle parenting groups, is it developmentally appropriate for my child to not be able to XYZ or to refuse to XYZ? Is it reasonable for me to expect at this age? And ultimately, if we take a problem-solving approach, you're going to find out, right? You're going to find out through experience of your actual child, what are they capable of? What are they not capable of? And what is in the way? Is it a developmental issue or is it just a skill gap, right? When we take this approach where we're really looking at what works for both of us, how do I get my child to express to me why they don't want to do it? Now, a lot of people I speak to will say that either I ask them and I don't really get any response, or like, how would this look in detail? And that's what I'm going to be doing in my webinar, Getting Strong-Willed Kids to Listen. We're going to go through the step-by-step, the words to use, the tone to use, the keys to making sure that you can actually get them to listen for the right reasons. All of that's going to be in that webinar. So if you want to come along, you can grab that webinar at jodithornton.com/listen. And in that, you'll get everything you need to say and do so that you can actually shift that dynamic. So you get much more specific feedback about why they don't want to do something and shift it into a team-based approach so that it's not always their needs first. It's not always your needs first. It's both of your needs are valid and important, and it's just a problem to be solved, right? This is the place where parenting just becomes so much easier. You will be triggered less often because you will actually be working together as a team, and everything becomes like everything, whether it's brushing teeth, whether it's tidying up, whether it's eating their lunch, whatever the thing is, all of a sudden we get much more consistent listening and for the right reasons because we've taken that team-based approach. So grab that webinar at jodithornton.com/listen and it will be great to see you there.